Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. You are here for boosting efficiency and professionalism. This session is going to be all about unleashing your potential with HoneyBook. We are so happy you guys are here. Please hop into the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from today, how you are feeling. We are going to be using that chat a ton today, so don't be shy. Pop over there now and let us know where you are tuning in from. Hello, everyone. Toronto, amazing, wonderful. I'm tuning in from Portland, Oregon. Hello. Portland, Maine, love it. Other side. Cool. Well, welcome, you guys. We have some amazing content planned for you today in this new year. Are we ready for 2024? What the heck? How did we even get here? We have a ton to go through. So I also need to introduce myself. So my name is Mac. I am part of the product education team here. I'm super excited to be back with y'all. I was just on maternity leave, so go easy on me as I welcome myself back to this process. Our goal for today is I want you guys to leave here fully aware of the tools you have available within the HoneyBook system and how they can help you, first off, better manage your time, right? So that efficiency piece, and putting your best, most professional foot forward. So how are we going to be doing that? We've got an agenda jam-packed today. That first piece, like I mentioned, is going to be around professionalism. So this is where we are going to be covering everything from branding through the HoneyBook system, how to really set the tone from very first client interaction, getting organized so that nothing slips through the cracks, and even starting to anticipate your client needs. So all of the professionalism pieces there. Then we'll be switching gears a little bit about halfway through the session, and we'll focus on the time management and efficiency side of things. So this is where we'll be talking about getting all of your work into one centralized system, utilizing the HoneyBook scheduler. So if you're not doing that, or if you want tips on how to better do that, we'll be going through that. And then tapping into automations to start to outsource some of that grunt work or the repeat tasks that you have going on in your business, okay? So let's dive in, kicking things off here with this concept of professionalism. And one of the key pieces when it comes to putting your best foot forward is branding, right? So I want you guys all, I know some of you are in the chat. If you're not in the chat, hop over there now. I want to hear from you guys. Why do we think branding is important? Tell me, why does branding matter? Why do we think it's important? Even in just maybe one word, why do we think that branding is important? Let's start thinking through that. Hop into the chat and let me know. And then we'll take a look at how we do this in HoneyBook. Alicia, I love that consistency. Clients get recognized. Represents who you are, recognition. Yes, I love that. Building confidence. People remember you. We're seeing a lot of recognition, consistency. Yes. Setting you apart. Absolutely, right? So themes we're seeing: consistency, building trust, recognition, tells people who you are. Absolutely. All of these are pieces, right? So there's a lot that we're seeing in the chat around the visual representation of your brand and how you're showing up for your clients. And then there's also this idea of how you're making them feel, right? And I tend to refer to that as more of like the emotional branding, right? There's your visual branding, which a lot of people are talking about. And then there's also the emotional branding, which is another aspect that's coming up a ton there in the chat. 100%. So let's talk first about this visual branding piece, okay? And let's take a look at how we do this in HoneyBook. So when you're first getting set up in your HoneyBook account, one of the first stops that you're going to take in that process is coming over to your company settings, and it's going to default to drop you off in your company brand. And this is where that visual piece really comes into play, right? So right away, our kind of basic branding elements are here. This is your logo, your kind of key color elements, that visual representation of your brand. We also have your smart file theme. This is really crucial for that consistency piece that we were talking about. So as your clients are engaging with you on the internet, they're coming into an interaction with your brand from a visual perspective. How do we make sure that when they come to interacting with you kind of behind the curtain of your business when you're relying on the HoneyBook tools, how do we make sure that that consistency of your visual brand is still there? That's really what we're looking at in the company settings here. So when we set our file theme, this makes it so every time you go to create a new file in HoneyBook, that default of the visual brand is already there. Your colors, your fonts, your logo, all of those elements are consistent and present in the HoneyBook suite of tools for you as well. I also like to point out the email signature. This, of course, is where you can show your smiling face. You are the beating heart of your business. So I think this is a great place to show up for your clients. It's also a great place to consider showcasing other pieces or elements of your business that you want to make available to them. So if you have resources for them that you want to proactively give them consistent access to, this is another way you can really kind of tap into that professionalism piece and make sure they always have access to what you need them to have access to. Okay. So let's circle back here, because branding, as we've discussed in the chat already, isn't just a pretty logo, right? It's important to consider some of those maybe less obvious ways that branding can take form or show up in your business. And I already saw a ton of these in the chat, right? Things like your messaging tone and voice, different communication styles, or your frequency of communication. Every person, every business, every brand is going to have a different approach here. And this is really more of that emotional branding piece that we talked about, how your business makes them feel. Another piece to consider here is your client flow and your business processes, the tools you're choosing to trust and represent your brand, like HoneyBook, right? All of those things are also part of your professionalism and your branding. Yes, Eddie, I love that. Branding shows up in the way that you speak. Exactly. 100%. So another element to consider when we're talking about the way your brand makes them feel, or how you're showing up for your clients, is going to be templates in HoneyBook. So templates are a total game changer, lifesaver in this consistency piece specifically, which again, I know came up in the chat really frequently when we were talking about this idea of branding. So not only can you set kind of premeditated, as I like to call them, messages for email templates, but you can also set up your files so that you're really starting to anticipate those different situations and building that kind of groundwork or that framework or that jumping off point for communicating with your clients. There are different days, different vibes, different moments in our lives where we're going to show up differently for our clients. So however much we can kind of take a step back, anticipate those needs, and lay that foundation for templatizing our process, the more consistently we're going to be able to show up for our clients. So this is just a little glimpse into the HoneyBook template gallery. If you have not checked it out yet, I highly recommend doing so. We can even probably post the link to the template gallery in the chat right now for you guys. This is a great jumping off point for creating files in the HoneyBook system. If that feels like a daunting process, this is a really good place to start, even just to kind of source inspiration. It's kind of like HoneyBook Pinterest a little bit. So if when we're starting to think about those, again, maybe less obvious elements of branding, the template gallery is a huge time saver. And we also really start to think about that first impression and that transition from wherever they came into HoneyBook, and how that is going to relate to the HoneyBook system. So first impressions are really everything. Let's talk through that a little bit, okay? Let's talk about setting the standard from very first client interaction. I want to see in the chat right now, you guys, how are people reaching out to you or finding you? Tell me, where is that first interaction happening for you right now? Let's hear some of the options that we are working with. And then we're going to start thinking through what that first client interaction looks like and how to manage that in HoneyBook. Amazing. Word of mouth, social media, lots of social media. Okay. Referrals. We love referrals. In-person events. Amazing. Sam, I love that. I'm a big in-person girly. Lots of word of mouth, referrals. Fabulous, you guys. Okay, great. These examples are going to come in handy in a couple of minutes. I'm going to have us do a little exercise thinking through how to transition these leads into the HoneyBook system, okay? Because there are two ways that you can get your clients' information and get your inquiries funneled into HoneyBook. So lead forms is the first option, and contact forms is the second option, okay? So first, I'm gonna go through lead forms with us and when to use them. Okay, so lead forms are really best used, and you guys can use them however you want. I'm just gonna give you a little guidance of the way I typically see them used here. So lead forms are typically used for your non-website inquiries. So this is for really if you're looking to sell upfront or offer some kind of self-service offering. So selling upfront would be, really self-service. I don't know. Pop it in the chat, you guys, and let me know if I have any photographers here today. I'd love to hear from you. So if you're selling upfront, or you have self-service offerings, that is really when lead forms come into play. Okay, yes, I'm seeing some photographers. Cool. So photographers, lead forms is really where you can start to play around with mini sessions. If you guys are offering mini sessions, lead forms is absolutely going to be your kind of saving grace here in HoneyBook for how to get that set up. So I'll tap into some examples when we check that out in HoneyBook. Another option for lead forms is when we're thinking about returning clients who might want to kind of bypass that typical inquiry flow. If you want to allow your clients to book time with you right up front, so either pay up front or schedule a call, things like that, that is really where lead forms are going to come into play. Okay, so the other option that we talked about is contact forms. And this is really, again, for that kind of general bread and butter situation where you want to collect some basic information from them. You want to have it embedded onto your website, or maybe have it be the link in bio on your Instagram. And this is where folks go to just let you know their name, email, some basic information, and inquire with you. Okay, so let's take a look at these responses again for where some of these folks are coming from. We've got a lot of word of mouth examples. Let's see. Angela says, client fills out questionnaire on our website for event planners. Okay, so you guys, let's help Angela figure this out. Angela has clients fill out a questionnaire on their website and their event planners. So is Angela going to be using, do we think, a lead form or a contact form? So pop it in the chat. Let's let Angela know if she's going to set up a lead form later today, or is she going to be setting up a contact form? Okay, let's see if we can help Angela out with this example. Contact form, Kim says, yes. Exactly. You guys are nailing it. Okay. Let's look at one more example just to drive this home. Personal and client referrals, Christina says. So I think this also kind of depends on what Christina might be selling in this situation. But do we think she is going to be using lead forms or contact forms? I think it kind of depends personally, but let's hop into the chat and help her out there. Awesome. Okay. Great job, guys. We are totally getting the hang of this now. So let's kind of circle back to the heart of the issue here and bring this around to why this matters, right? This concept that first impressions are everything. This is where you can really start to set that standard. And this is why I was saying I think it kind of depends on what you're selling, what you're offering, how you want to make your clients feel. I know we just saw in the chat, obviously, too, there are so many different places where we are interacting with our clients before they ever pay us. And I think so many of us have the blessing and the curse of being pulled in a million different directions by our clients. And we get in this headspace of reaction mode in our businesses. We're trying to meet our clients in every nook and cranny and alleyway of the internet where they are reaching out, right? Does this resonate with anyone? We are trying to show up for our clients as best we can. But I want to challenge us to think a little bit differently today because we have an opportunity as business owners at the very first impression with them, at very first interaction point, to really set the tone and set the standard of what it means to work with you. What does it mean to work with Nicole, to work with Spring, to work with Jackie? How does it feel? And what does that look like? You have the opportunity to step into your zone of genius as a business owner and say, hey, this is my process. Welcome. You get to welcome them. You get to give them that peace of mind that you have a process. They're in good hands, right? You don't have to be DMing on Instagram and in your email inbox. And some people are in HoneyBook, but some people aren't. And calling some folks and setting up G Hangouts with others and Zoom meetings. You can have a set process and say, this is how I reply to my inquiries. I send them a link to a form. And that is okay because it builds trust. It establishes that you are a professional and you have a process. And it allows them to feel like they are in good hands. So I want to challenge our thinking today that we are allowed as business owners to say, thank you so much for reaching out. I cannot wait to work with you. Here's my process. Here's my form. Let's get to know each other a little bit better and kick things off. Right away, you're kicking things off and inviting them into your professional space and where you do business with them. Okay? So let's check this out inside of the HoneyBook product. So we talked a little bit about lead forms. So where those are going to live up here under tools and lead forms. So again, for my photographers, if you are interested in setting up mini sessions, we have a nice little template for you as a kicking off point to start from. But again, lead forms are for those situations where they are non-website inquiries. You're trying to offer something upfront, whether that be your pricing information showing upfront. They can schedule time with you upfront. They can pay you upfront. So this is really kind of that self-service version of the inquiry process. So lead forms are serving you in that way. When we click into a lead form, you can see how customizable it is. You can see the different actions that you can add. There are tons of different options in terms of the content that you decide to display here, the services or payment options, It is truly up to you. You can make this look and feel like your brand, customizing the colors, themes, all of that, and then go ahead and share it out. This is just going to be a link so you can have this in your newsletters. Again, for mini sessions, that is probably the route you're going to take. You could have this be in any kind of email campaign. You could have this on Instagram in a link tree, wherever you want to share the link. That is how lead forms can be shared out to your clients. The other option that we discussed is contact forms. So this is also under tools and lead capture. You pop over here. Again, completely customizable. This is our bread and butter situation for website inquiries. We can customize this to make sure we're collecting all of the information we need to collect. I always say a little best practice too is using this space, and you can do this in lead forms as well, to kind of set expectations for what happens next. Like, okay, great, I just submitted this form, but now what can I expect from here? That is another way just to be super professional. Setting expectations with your clients, again, is really going to invite them into that process of doing business with you and make them feel super just like they're in good hands. So I always say that is a really good best practice. And then you're going to go ahead and publish this on your website. This code is actually embeddable to your website, so it's super seamless in their interaction with you. Okay, so now that we've gone through all the options for, collecting client information and getting that into the HoneyBook system, we need to talk about where they go once they come into the system. Okay, so let's find out. When we get all of our work centralized and organized into one system, there's less margin for error. There's not going to be things slipping through the cracks, which taps into that professional piece that we were talking about. If nothing is slipping through the cracks, we're looking super professional and we're super on top of it. But it's also making you more efficient. You get more time back. You have more visibility into your business. So we're really hitting on both pieces in our topic today when we're centralizing our work, right? And once your clients come into the HoneyBook system, we're talking about where they go. This is where the HoneyBook pipeline is going to come into play. This is really going to give you tons of visibility into your clients and the work that you are doing with them. So let's have a conversation about why this matters. Again, I'd love to see you guys hop into the chat. Let me know, before you came to HoneyBook, where were you managing all of your clients? We talked about where they're coming from, but where were you managing them? Where were those conversations happening? Where were you tracking progress with them? How were you collecting payment? What were you using to manage all of your projects and all of your work with them? I want to see you guys hop into the chat and let me know, maybe some of the different tools you were using. Okay. We see all over the place. Okay, 17 hats. Yes. Files through email. Okay. Microsoft Teams. In files and on a desk. Okay. Back and forth messaging on social mediator. Okay. Email inbox. Yes. Google Forms, QuickBooks. Okay. Lots of all over the place. People are saying whiteboard, giant notebook. Okay. Right? We are seeing so many different tools here. So we can already, and I imagine you guys, this is part of the reason why you're here, right? We can start to imagine the benefit of having everyone in one place instead. So we need to get these people into the HoneyBook system so that you can quickly start communicating with them, which makes you look super professional. Nothing is slipping through the cracks, like we already talked about there. It'll make you more efficient with your time and more professional. And you can, at a glance, that visibility piece, track who you're working with. And that, again, is that time efficiency. Okay. Oh my gosh. Paul says his wife was doing all of it. Love it. Okay. Let's take a look at this inside of the HoneyBook product, you guys. I want to show you the pipeline. I even saw some questions come through the chat about this. Love it. That is why we're here today. So At a glance, this is our projects tab, and this is where the HoneyBook pipeline lives. This is our bird's eye view of everyone we are working with and where they fall in the process of doing business with you. Okay. There are automations here that will automatically track at what point someone moves from one stage to the next. You can customize these stages and add additional ones to better fit your business flow. So you can add stages, which we'll go into a little bit more detail in just a couple seconds on that. But in general, the way to think about the HoneyBook pipeline is a bird's eye view of your client flow across inquiry, across qualifying your leads, across collecting payment and that initial project kickoff. Then there's project management, and then there's relationship management. So that is kind of the big picture, broad brush lens that we want to use when we are thinking about the HoneyBook pipeline. You don't want so many little nuanced, you don't want email 1, email 2, email 3. That's not what the pipeline is for. That's more in the automations tool, and we'll talk about that in the later half of today's session. The pipeline is meant to give you that bird's eye view, high level idea of your booking flow and your booking process, really, and the kind of project management piece. So let's pop back to our slides to give you guys a little bit better idea of what some of these stages could look like. Okay, so pop into the chat here and let me know what stages from this list are you all today going to go into your HoneyBook account and add to customize your pipeline so that it better fits your process? Okay, we've got schedule a call, sending pricing, collecting feedback, sending a questionnaire, sending your deliverables. So maybe if you're a photographer, that's a gallery. If you are a graphic designer, maybe that's sending the different graphics that you've been working on, asking for a referral. So there are lots of different stages here that we can use, but you can see how I'm keeping them high level, right? They're not so granular. That is really what we're thinking about when we're talking about the pipeline. Okay, great. We're getting some responses here. I'm sending pricing. Carrie's going to ask for a referral. I'm seeing a couple people saying they're going to add all of them. Amazing. Okay, Heather's going to collect a floor plan. I love that. Thinking outside the box. Yes, Heather, that is perfect example. Brenda's going to schedule a call, collect feedback, ask for a referral. Amazing. Okay, people are loving these. Wonderful. Okay, Angela, I love it. This is a perfect transition. Number one scheduler, she says. Yes. Okay. We have to talk about the HoneyBook scheduler, especially when we are talking about time management and getting more efficient, right? When it comes to this, we would be completely remiss if we didn't mention the HoneyBook scheduler. So let's hop into the product over here and check this out, because this tool is going to allow your clients to review your availability and select a time that works best for them, okay? At a high level, that's what we're talking about with the HoneyBook scheduler. So where you find this, you pop up into Tools and Scheduler, and this is where you're gonna be able to build out all of your different session types. You wanna build out your session type here first, and then you can decide how you wanna share it, whether you share it in a lead form, attaching it kind of natively inside of a lead form, whether you paste the hyperlink into an email template that you use frequently, whether you have this embedded onto your website. There are so many different ways and places that you can share your scheduler. But first, you need to set up the sessions, okay? So we see mini sessions in here. I know I've touched on that a ton, so this is obviously where you do that. You can also set up things like video calls, in-person meetings, phone calls, whatever you need to do from a scheduling perspective, that is done in the scheduler tool. Zuri, you go to Tools and Scheduler. That is how you find it. Good question. So you can set up as many session types as you want. And again, this is going to allow your clients, let's take a look from the client side, to view your availability and select a time that works for them. Okay, so there's two pieces that play into your availability here. The first piece is connecting your calendar. So you want to make sure you connect your calendar to HoneyBook so that it pulls in your availability based on what you already have going on in your calendar. You obviously don't want to double book yourself. And then the second piece is you set preferences as you're building out a session type. You choose, hey, I'm available 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, whatever you want to do there. That is where those two pieces come into play to show that availability to your clients and allow them to select the best time that works. Okay. So no more email ping pong of, are you available at this time? No. How about Thursday at this time? No. We are giving you literal time back. And you look super professional when you're able to present your availability in this way, right? So this is literal time back for you guys if you're going to, use a scheduling tool like this. Okay, so let's hop back into our slides for a second. I want to hear from you guys in the chat again. Let's try to put ourselves in the client perspective for a second. So like the way that's easy for me to think about this is when I'm scheduling like a hair appointment or a dentist appointment, like when we are the client, what do we find frustrating or inconvenient or kind of a blocker when we're trying to go schedule an appointment like that? What are our pet peeves? What doesn't feel good when we're trying to do that from the client side? Okay. And the idea here obviously is just to kind of get our gears turning around how we can eliminate some of that in our own business, right? So what is a pet peeve? Okay, Kristen, knowing pricing up front. That is fabulous example. Yes. Can't pick a time that works for me and that I can't reschedule easily if I need to. Absolutely. Taking forever to respond. Yes, Sharon, it's like, okay, the availability I sent was for today, but you haven't replied yet. So I guess we missed the chance for that. Yes, too many questions to answer, Paisley. That's a good one. Good to keep in mind, right? We don't want to have too many barriers to entry for them before they get that time with us. Having a call and not doing it online. Okay, yes. So we want to keep all of these things in mind from the client perspective. Let's put ourselves in the client's shoes when we're building out our own scheduler and making sure that we are kind of keeping up with the times and making sure we are really choosing the right tools and technology to, again, represent our brand. We already talked about this emotional branding piece, the feeling you're leaving your clients with when they come to do business with you. Are the tools you're using building trust with your audience and helping them perceive you as the polished, legitimate businesses that we know you are, right? So another way that we can take our professionalism even a step further here, because we've been talking about, this piece with scheduling and how that is a great tool for putting our professional foot forward. Another piece in HoneyBook, maybe even the greatest piece that you can choose to come across really professional and even get more time back to is automations, okay? And I hope this is not a trigger word for anyone out there. I know it can tend to be. So we're gonna do a little experiment, a little word association here to get it out of our system. When we think about automations, I say automations, you think what, right? What's the first word that comes to your mind? Let's see it in the chat. When I say automations, where does your mind go? Are you maybe in a good place? Are you in a negative place? Talk to me about automations. What are you thinking? Okay, Heather's here for it. I love it. Okay, Soo Yun, time back. Kristen, setup. Perla, quick. Convenience. Something out of my control. Carrie, yes. Hard to set up. Streamlined. Time efficiency. Okay. Someone says a bot. Yes, absolutely. Freedom, responsiveness, time control, complicated, hard to set up, auto reply. Okay, lots of questions about setup. Yes. People not feeling comfortable. Yes. Bad robots. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Okay. This is all totally what we are hearing and what I hear when I'm working with our members. 100%, you guys are not alone in this. One of the biggest hesitations that I hear from folks when it comes to using automations is this fear of losing control or the person behind their business. They think of an autoresponder or a bot, and that is just not what we're talking about here. Okay, so I want to take a moment. I know some of you were kind of more on the positive side about automation. Some of you are feeling really like this burden of the setup. I hear you. And then some of you are on this side of like, but isn't it an autoresponder? Is it a bot? Like, I just don't, this automations word is just not quite sitting right. So let's take a moment to all get on the same page here. Let's discuss what they are, or rather what they could be, right? And what they are not. So automations are personalized, customized emails, files, and tasks that are automatically, that's the automations piece, automatically triggered based on the timing and or a client action. Okay, this is a very wordy definition here, but this is truly at the heart of what automations are, what they can be for your business. So another way to think about this is where you can start to let go of having to be uniquely involved at every single touch point in your process. You guys, especially when we're talking about those repeat tasks. So an example here is with your inquiries, right? When you are meeting your clients in every nook and cranny and alleyway of the internet, like we were talking about earlier, how do you start to bring them into your process so that you can start to outsource some of that early communication, right? Those inquiries, if we're being honest, they don't have the same skin in the game that your paying clients do. So how can we shift our focus to make sure that we're not in reaction mode with those early stage folks, and we're really able to focus that reaction time on those paying clients where we really want to make a good impression. And you can still afford to make a good impression with those newer inquiries using something like an automation that is still going to reflect your visual brand, your emotional brand, and really start to put your best foot forward. Because as business owners, again, we have the opportunity to step into our zone of genius and really take ownership of the fact that we know our businesses. And you guys, we know our clients better than anyone else. So when we invite them into that process, we know there's like two things everybody wants to know when they reach out. What's your pricing? What's your availability? And we know how we like to respond to those people. So how can we start to anticipate some of those needs and build out the HoneyBook system to reflect that kind of messaging and even send it out to them so we're not uniquely, and what do I mean by that? I'm in there typing up a response every single time and I'm sending it out on a DM. And in a DM, it's a way shorter version. And sometimes I forget to say that other thing that I like to say over email. Okay, we're cutting all of that out and we're making it a super consistent process when we invite them to join us in our process, fill out this form. Okay, great. I've gotten what I need from them. Now I have the information I need to respond to them the way that I know the HoneyBook automation system can do for me, right? So all of this comes into play to give our clients this really consistent experience that they know they can rely on, and it gives us our time back, our sanity back, our peace of mind, okay? That is what we're talking about when we're talking about automations, is taking those repeat tasks and outsourcing them to a system we trust. That is really what is at the heart of this, okay? So let's talk about what they are not, right? They are not going to be this robotic, generic communication with our clients. We've already kind of touched on it, but these well thought out automations are actually going to offer our clients proactive, personalized communication that is going to set you heads and shoulders above the rest of the crowd while also giving you more time back, right? So now that we're feeling really clear on what they are, let's discuss how we think we can use them. So pop into the chat, let me know If you already have some ideas around, I know I was kind of throwing some examples out there, so I gave you some little cheat codes, but hop into the chat and let me know if you already have some ideas around where and when you think you're going to use automations for your business. I would love to see if you have some ideas there, and we'll go through them together. First inquiry, yes, Iris, someone was listening. I love it. Sending invoices, Vivian says, yes. Contact forms when people register for my online webinars. Fabulous, Brenda. Okay, awesome. We've got some good examples coming through. Keep them coming, you guys. And we'll go through some examples on the screen here too. I know it can be tricky to kind of think through what this looks like in application. Okay, so a couple examples. We've already kind of given this one of replying to new inquiries. So an example here is when someone submits that contact form or that lead form, or any other way that they're coming to you, you can have an automation set up to get the information they need out to them. So whether that is pricing or availability to schedule time with you, whatever that first kind of response looks like, that is a really, really good, if you're new to automations or if you're feeling intimidated by that process, that reply to inquiry step is a really good one just to kind of test the waters, dip your toe a little bit, and see how it feels and kind of perfect it one step at a time. I think one of the barriers, again, and we already saw this in the chat too, is that initial setup and really feeling like that is going to be a lot of work. But let's just level set right now. Rome does not have to be built in a day with this thing. We can take it one situation, one step at a time. So maybe the next time you receive an inquiry, just allow yourself a little calendar block to sit down and really think through, okay, how often does this type of inquiry come to me in this way? And can I take a pause and, draft up my most perfect version of how I would reply to this and save it for later? And can I then go to automations and set it up so that this perfect version of replying to them goes out to all these types of clients that I get coming through this, lane of my business? Okay. So just one step at a time. Wait until, the situation presents itself. Sit down and really map out the perfect version of how you want to reply to that or what that looks like, and save it for later, and potentially even add it to an automation to really test if that is something you can automate or outsource rather, to the HoneyBook tools there. Okay, that's just a little idea for us to play around with. Another example is kicking off next steps in your process. I think I saw some around folks paying and where to go from there. Exactly. After selections on a proposal are submitted, it sends a contract. Lacey, yes, that is a perfect example for this one. Okay. So when payments are submitted, the client is automatically going to receive maybe some kickoff documentation or an email if you know that once they pay, you need to schedule a call to introduce them to the project. You can have that set up. Okay, so that's another example here. One other thing to think through is when you're offboarding your clients, you can ask them for feedback. So an example here would be maybe 1 week after the project wraps up, they'll automatically receive a thank you email and a feedback survey or personalized review links to go and leave a review for your business. I know back when we were talking about customizing the pipeline, a couple of you were excited about the idea of asking for referrals. This is another great way to do that. I think one area that can be kind of like the stepchild of client flow is the project wrap up phase. It can be kind of a gray area in our businesses or a little bit neglected. So how do we lean on automations to make sure that the offboarding process is really tied up in a nice bow and giving our clients a really exceptional experience? Automations can absolutely help you with that by offering that thank you messaging and giving them a space to give feedback or leave a review or offer a referral. Automations is a great, great space to do that. So you don't have to do it, manually, and keep that in the back of your mind while you have a million other things going on. Okay. And then the final piece here is truly anywhere else in your process that you notice repeat tasks or things coming up over and over and over again. If you are sending the same file or the same email or the same kind of response to the same kind of person multiple times a day, multiple times a week, I want you all, hopefully, have a little light bulb moment here that this is an opportunity for an automation to become a teammate in helping you anticipate your client needs. This is going to make them feel so cared for. You are going to look so polished. You are going to be more on top of things and more professional, all while saving more time, right? So anywhere as you're going through, the next month of getting new inquiries and responding to folks and going through your process, remember my little face here, remember this moment, and have that little light bulb go off and say, okay, I'm going to listen to Mac. I'm going to take a pause right now. I'm going to come up with the perfect version of responding to this person, and I'm going to save it for later, and we can go back and automate it. Okay. Now, how do you build an automation in HoneyBook? You guys, I wish I had another hour with you. I'm sure you all are sick of me by now, but we do not have a full hour to cover the automation process. I do have an on-demand session that you guys can go and check out. Kitsy is going to pop in and post that now for you all. Maxime says there are tons of YouTube videos. I love that you are bringing that up. Yes, there are so many resources out there for you guys to get set up with automations. Again, I wish we had the time to cover it all today. I am just going to review the high-level steps for success in order to successfully set up an automation for you, so that you at least have that groundwork, and then you can go and check that out a little bit later on your own. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do in order to successfully set up an automation in HoneyBook is you want to establish your project types. And this is really how you kind of categorize your clients in HoneyBook. So this is where you can establish, the different types of clients you work with, whether that be based on the services they book with you, their age group, the neighborhood, however it is. Every business is a little bit different. So set up your project types, because that will help you connect the automation later on. Then you're going to go ahead and build the templates. So you're going to make sure all those emails that you need to rely on are there. All the files that you need to rely on are there. You're going to build out the automation. So actually establishing what steps happen at what point based on what action. And then you're going to decide how to trigger that automation. Do you want it to connect to a lead form or a contact form so that when they inquire, the moment they inquire, that automation is triggered to send out? Or do you want to manually apply it to a project? Okay. I know that was a ton of information, you guys. We are just going to quickly conclude here and wrap things up, and then we will dive into our questions. Let's talk through, what did we learn today around how HoneyBook helps you manage your time? What are some ways that really kind of stuck with you or resonated? How HoneyBook saved you time? How do we help you manage your time? What are some areas where we explored this today? I would love to hear, what you saw, what really kind of stuck with you today as you're leaving, things you're excited to implement. How did we explore that? Okay. Let's see it in the chat. Can't wait to reorganize your process. Awesome, Brenda. Manage my leads more efficiently. Yes. Building automations. Haley, 100%. We talked about automations. We talked about organizing your process with the HoneyBook pipeline, organizing in one place, pipeline. Yes. Amazing. Awesome. Yes. Fabulous. Lead forms. Amazing. All of these, we talked about the scheduler and making that available to your clients. We talked about lead forms, contact forms, branding your process, 100%. Okay. Yes. And we're even starting to talk about the professionalism piece. There's so much overlap too, right? Because when you're efficient with your time and you're managing your time better, you are coming off more professional to your clients. So there's so much overlap between that visual branding piece and that emotional branding piece, and then how that impacts your business behind the curtain, giving you more time back, 100%. Yes, these are all fabulous. Yes, okay, Spring is saying automations was a big one for them. Sometimes it takes me several days to answer inquiries, so it'll be a huge game changer. Oh, I love that. Yes, I know this is going to be a game changer for all of you guys. Wonderful. Awesome. People really got some good stuff out of their time today. Wonderful, you guys. Okay, let me pop over to the Q&A section. I am going to answer some of these live with you all. Okay, let's see. Erin says, are smart files still an option? I'm always confused between those and automations. Okay, Erin, this is a fabulous question. Yes, smart files are different from automations. So automations are going to be the action that sends a smart file or sends an email. A smart file is just a file, but it can do a lot of things. It can showcase your pricing. It can ask your client questions. So it can serve as a questionnaire or a form in that sense. It can have a contract piece to it. It can have a thank you page. It can share video and other visual elements. So it is just a powerhouse file that can do whatever needs to be done in a single client interaction. So that's kind of the defining element between a smart file and an automation. A file is a single client interaction, right? It arrives at their inbox and it can do all the things that you need it to do depending on how you set it up. An automation is different interactions with your client, separated by multiple days, weeks, months, however you set it up, right? So an automation might trigger an initial welcome packet, which is a smart file to go out day one of receiving an inquiry. And then after they submit payment, whenever that happens, you can have the automation set up to kick off the project by sending your scheduling link. Okay, that would be a really simple example of an automation. So that's kind of the difference there. Automation splits up client interactions and automatically has certain things happen based on your preferences, whereas a smart file is a single client interaction. It arrives in their email and can do whatever you need the file to do. It's just a single file that can, for the most part, do it all. It's just up to you what you need it to do. Okay, let's see. Michelle says, I need to get feedback after weddings and events. What if it's 1 month after? Yes, this is perfect. So, Michelle, for an automation, what you are going to do there is you would have, depending on how you want the feedback to be collected, you could set it up as a questionnaire file in HoneyBook. So you would build out the feedback kind of questionnaire in HoneyBook, and you could have that trigger to send out automatically 1 month after the project date. And the project date would obviously be the wedding or event. So you just want to make sure that every project has the wedding and event on your calendar, which you would already do. And then you would set up the automation to automatically send 1 month after project date that questionnaire file. Great question. Debbie says, how do you change the font and formatting on files? My files are not formatted correctly when I try to change a line. Yeah, so I can show you really quickly inside of a template. It should work fairly similarly to, a Word doc or other files that you are familiar with. So you can just copy or rather highlight the text. And then we have all of your different font options here, the size, you can change the font color if it's highlighted, the text alignment, you can add a hyperlink, lots of different options here. And then if you want to upload custom fonts, you can do that inside of customizing the theme. So sorry, that was a little bit fast. Up in the top right-hand corner here, you click Customize Theme, and then you come to Fonts, and this is where you can upload a custom font if you wanted to do that as well. Great question, Debbie. How can I learn more about automating invoices? Jennifer wants to know. You can absolutely automate invoices. So first things first, you would need to build the file with the invoicing element inside of the templates section. So as we've discussed, smart files can contain multiple different elements. They can contain services and invoicing and contracts and videos. So first things first, you want to hang out in your template section and establish what the invoicing file looks like for your specific needs, Jennifer. And then once you've figured that out, you'll come into the automation and you will select the smart file. You will choose the file that you need. So, whatever the invoicing file is, you would select that. And then you would decide when you want this to happen, when you want it to go out. And you can attach it to an email. So all files, again, are going to show up in your client's email inbox. You need to have an email template established for each of the files that you are creating there. So that is just kind of a high-level overview of automating invoices. To find out more at any point, anything you need regarding a question for HoneyBook, the question mark is going to be your best friend. This is where you can go to chat with us. If you have a really specific question, Jennifer, you can run that by our team, or you can pop into the Help Center. This is a fabulous place to check out the resources that we have available. So automating an invoice draft from a client service selection, automating the booking process. There are lots of different resources here to help you out with that. But I appreciate you all spending this hour with me, and I hope it was helpful. And we will see you soon. I hope you all have a wonderful new year, and looking forward to seeing you soon.